Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are diving headfirst into the epic, blood-pumping journey of Derek. He's a zero-to-hero commoner who completely shatters the arrogant, stuck-up world of nobility, and he does it with pure, undeniable strength. We're following a protagonist who doesn't just climb the social ladder, you guys, he violently kicks it down behind him. So, welcome to a brutal, unforgiving reality where magic is strictly a privilege of the elite. In this world, the poor and the talentless, they're despised. Only those with savage strength actually have the right to survive. The nobles fiercely protect their bloodlines, meaning a commoner with superior magic is seen as a massive, direct threat. But here's the thing, Derek isn't your average commoner. He's a hardened mercenary, and he plays by a completely different, totally deadly set of rules. Which brings us to Chapter 1, A Commoner's Tragic Awakening. To really understand the man, we have to look back at the boy. Derek's foundation was built on absolute trauma. About 8 years ago, he was taken in by a heavily despised village mage. But the real turning point, 7 years ago, his mentor was brutally beaten to death simply for trying to steal a 2-star magic book for him. I mean, just imagine that. That trauma awakened something dark and incredibly powerful deep inside him. After surviving under the wing of a former noble named Katya Flameheart, he actually learned to hide this abnormal talent just to stay alive. And now, at just 16 years old, he is already a highly lethal 2-star mercenary mage. And he violently rejects this whole system of noble arrogance. How? By literally slapping respect into a spoiled, talentless noble named Della Duplain. Hired to teach this girl who had spent 15 long years failing to manifest even a single ounce of magic, Derek is immediately met with a splash of dirty water and a barrage of insults. His response? He tells her, treat people with respect and you'll get respect back. And then, smack, he delivers a cold, hard slap right across the face, entirely backed by her father's absolute permission to use any means necessary. And that perfectly sets up Chapter 2, Taming the Spoiled Noble. To actually awaken Della's abilities, Derek realizes that pampering her is her ultimate downfall. So, he drags her deep into the pitch-black woods at the dead of night, unleashing lethal 2-star fireballs all around her. He makes her genuinely believe he's there to execute her. Why go to such extremes? Well, he noticed her childhood drawings of the forest and deduced she actually belongs to a wild school of magic. Traditional noble institutions with their elegant chants and rigid studying were literally blocking her potential. She absolutely needed a lawless teaching style, one driven by raw, unbridled instinct. Pushed to her absolute physical and mental limit, pure survival instinct finally kicks in. Staring down Derek's blade and believing her life is completely over, that sheer desperation unlocks her latent Duplain bloodline talent. Just like that, a massive ice barrier erupts out of nowhere. 15 years of constant failure are completely shattered in a single night of mercenary terror. This pays off in a big way during a high-stakes duel with her brother, Raig. Della completely throws away all noble etiquette and fights like an absolute street killer. She hides under the arena terrain, targets his feet, literally throws dirt in his face to blind him, and uses her newfound wild intuition to conjure up a devastating ice spear. It's this vulgar, brutal display of mercenary tactics that entirely shocks the high society audience. But you know what? It undeniably works. She completely overwhelms her brother's 1-star win magic. Moving right along to Chapter 3, The Mercenary's Brutal Training. Having successfully transformed Della, Derek actually earns the Grand Duke's respect. More importantly, he secures access to coveted 3-star grimoires, which is a massive leap in power for a commoner. But his insane reputation quickly attracts another desperate client. Enter Alenche, a noble completely consumed by an agonizing inferiority complex. She is so tired of being second best that she agrees to pay an astronomical sum to undergo Derek's wildest training methods. Her only goal? Just a chance to crush her flawless rival, Eileen Duplain. Let me tell you, Derek's methods are pure torture. First, he forces Alente into 10 back-to-back duels, draining her mana completely dry just to teach her how to fight on absolutely empty reserves. Then comes the real test, a live monster dungeon. Amidst the blood and carnage of his mercenary team slaughtering a horde of goblins, Alente is forced to stop acting like a pampered noble. She has to raise her ice spear and actually kill a goblin charging right at her face. In that visceral moment of bloodshed, her mental limits are completely shattered. Setting the stage for Chapter 4, Clash of the Noble Geniuses. The entire high society is gathered, watching this breathtaking war of attrition in Rosa Hall. It's a lenti, fueled by Derek's brutal survival training, versus Aileen, the untouchable crown jewel of the Duplain family. Alenti plays it flawlessly, honestly. She floods Aileen's vision with fire arrows, uses high-level illusions, and closes the distance for a brutal point-blank strike. But Aileen? She is a true, terrifying genius. She forces all the surrounding mana into herself, breaking past her own limits to cast a massive, miniature sun-sized 2-star fireball. It is a stunning, breathtaking display of overwhelming power.
Even completely drained, Aline stands beautiful and composed, while Alent is forced to forfeit, feeling utterly defeated. But this is where Derek steps in and points out something super profound. He tells her it's okay to be pathetic. By finally accepting her flawed, envious, and desperate self, instead of hiding it behind false, noble pride, Alent breaks free from the chains of her own insecurity. So yeah, she didn't win the magic duel, but thanks to his street-hardened wisdom, she conquered her inner demons.
Now things get really crazy in Chapter 5, The 6-Star Legend. After this, Derek's reputation absolutely skyrockets, causing 3 major noble families to desperately tear each other apart just bidding for his services. But Derek isn't interested in noble politics or money. Denise Veltis literally camps outside his cave with food and gifts, playing the innocent damsel to try and seduce him. Derek coldly sees right through it, sharply rebuking her for treating magic as a mere political tool. His dedication to his craft is absolute. Seeking true power, he basically vanishes to find a master. He does this because he's hit a massive wall trying to cast 3-star magic. So, he seeks out a literal living myth, Dress Wolftail. Now, Dress isn't just some teacher. He's a man whose family was slaughtered by arrogant nobles. He retaliated by completely massacring the count responsible, spent 30 long years on the run surviving imperial bounties, and became so unbelievably powerful that the imperial family actually had to grant him a noble title just to avoid having him as an enemy. To put this insane scale of power in perspective, the Grand Duke was considered a highly revered 5-star mage. Dress is at 6. A 6-star mage is essentially a walking god. At the 6-star, magic evolves way beyond just throwing fire or ice. It crosses into omnipotent detection, mind reading, speaking with the dead, and even peering directly into the threads of the future itself. The nobles are just ridiculously outclassed here. This leads us to our final act, Chapter 6, Defying a Deadly Destiny. Under this new 6-star master, the stakes immediately skyrocket from simple duels to literal matters of life and death. Dress takes Derek to an isolated cavern to push his staggering potential right to its breaking point, concentrating his energy so intensely that the cavern's stalactites literally start trembling. Derek slams his hand down, unleashing a massive tectonic shift. In one devastating blast, he shatters his limits and finally achieves the impossible 3-star rank. But guys, this monumental power comes with a terrifying revelation. Driss foresaw a future filled with dark magic and twisted necromancy, spearheaded by none other than the once polite eldest son of the Duplain family, Valerian. Driss tasks Derek with a brutal mission. You have to kill Valerian before he comes of age. But the most chilling part of all this? According to the 6-star vision, Derek is absolutely, undoubtedly destined to die in the coming conflicts. To prove the absolutely terrifying scale of his power, and that his visions are real, Dress casually flicks his wrist, firing a beam of magic that instantly clears all the dense clouds right out of the night sky. He promises that he wants Derek to live, which is exactly why he just violently pushed him to the 3-star level. Then, leaving behind a dire warning to constantly watch his back, the living legend vanishes into the pitch-black forest, leaving our overpowered protagonist completely alone to face his fate. So, with his destiny literally written in blood and the noble world descending into total darkness, will this zero-to-hero mercenary find a way to cheat death itself? I mean, he's tamed arrogant nobles, he's broken his own physical limits, and he's trained under a literal legend. But fighting a rigged future? That is a whole different ballgame. Can Derek's brutal survival instinct actually outsmart fate? That's all for today's explainer. Keep questioning the limits, and I'll catch you in the next.